I will let you introduce LAION, and we look forward to working with you more.
Yeah, 1 second. I just needed to switch rooms because my family is there in the kitchen and they want to do stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
my name is Christoph. I'm by profession. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So by day job, I'm a high school teacher, but in my free time, I'm trying my best to build open source AGI. And I never like really thought about it, like becoming a scientist or whatever, but I was super fascinated by deep learning. And when I was a high school student, 12 years, I already had the idea, wouldn't it be cool to build Commander Data from Star Trek at one day? But the time wasn't ripe yet. So I later focused more on stuff like filmmaking and acting. I studied method acting for 5 years, and later I also started studying psychology. But then I decided I don't want to become a therapist who's just sitting there and hearing all day long only negative things. And acting is also not good for providing for a family, so having a stable income. So I decided, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna be a high school teacher. Because like in Germany, they tenure high school teachers and it's pretty okay. The salary is pretty nice. And I was thinking, yeah, I could do physics and computer science because when I was a teenager, I was a nerd and I already knew pretty much programming and like I had a good foundation for this. So later I did exactly this. Like I started working as a high school teacher. I even was a headmaster of a private school for a year. And around this time, I learned about the deep learning revolution, like 2015. And I started to read lots of stuff and watch tutorials and online courses and lectures and whatever, just because I was curious. And in 2021, I was hanging out in a chat group on Discord about machine learning. And I was seeing DALL-E 1. And I was thinking, oh my God, this will be so impactful, like image generation. And it's a pity because this will be open, closed source, because there's no way that OpenAI will open source this. And then I had like, after like talking to a few people there, like some master PhD students, I had this idea like that you could go to Common Crawl and get links to images and also alt text that describe the images sometimes. And then you download them, the images, and check with the clip model that came just out at this point, that's open source, clip from OpenAI, but basically check how well fit the image and the caption together. And of course, these people there, like they didn't do it because they weren't so excited about it. They started, yeah, I want to do this, blah, blah, but then they started training open source GPT models back then, and yeah, GPT-J, and so the like Aran and Ben Wang were the names. I don't know if you know them, but whatever. So I was like a little bit sitting there and thinking, I have to do it myself. So I wrote really ugly spaghetti code that did this, downloading images, checking them, doing some safety filtering and so. And at first, no one was interested. But after a while, together with a high school student from UK who was like also helping me, together we managed to get 3 million image text pairs filtered, and we were bigger than the back then very famous conceptual captions dataset. And then suddenly people thought, oh yeah, that's cool, I want to help. And then we scaled this up and we got LAION 400M, which was like a data set of 400 million image text pairs. And back then this was a sensation, and we instantly got like people who wanted to donate to us and build something bigger. We had been like at Andrew Ng's Data-Centric AI in Europe's workshop, presented this. And I have a strong background in education because when I like with my teacher's background, I managed and supervised lots of school startups for private schools, progressive education, where curiosity is more valued than in standard schooling environments. And I know how to start nonprofits and how to manage communities. So I said, okay, let's register a nonprofit. So we registered LAION, which is basically just a mailbox and volunteers from all over the world. Here, this is me. This is Jenya. He's leading the Deep Learning Lab at Jülich Supercomputing Center. Richard, he was back then something like a web developer, but now like I connected him to Stability AI, and then he became the cluster manager at Stability, and now he left Stability and is working for a big startup for basically building supercomputers in the cloud. And yeah, Rom, he's at Google nowadays. Yeah, so basically, and Robert, he's working with me on audio and emotion stuff at the moment. He's a dermatologist. He's a physician. And this is a high schooler who helped me starting the crawling effort back then. He's nowadays already a little bit older, I guess. But so yeah, this is what we did. And then later I kept doing all kinds of things. For example, Open Assistant, which was the first instruction tuning data set after ChatGPT came out that could somehow match the performance of ChatGPT. So we had the first models that came close to ChatGPT 3.5, and we built them by getting the community of Discord members, like people who are interested in machine learning, like you, for example, to play the AI assistant and write the first instruction multi-turn dialogues and so. And we had on Hugging Face our models featured for a few months as the main models, which had been fine-tuned of Llama 1, I think, back then. Yeah, something like this. And after that, I decided that it would be more interesting for me to focus more on empathetic AI. So what we did is we tried to do crowdsourced annotations for emotions. And we had this year Open Empathic, where we basically got like in a Discord server with many people to annotate audio clips from YouTube videos for what kind of emotion a person seems to be feeling. But unfortunately, this didn't scale. So we we depracted this project. But a little bit later, I tried to convince anyway people on working on this. So we built But-E, which is basically like a voice assistant that you can either run locally on your computer or you can run it in the browser as a wrapper, basically around all kinds of APIs. And it's privacy compliant. It's made for schools. And the idea is not to have a ChatGPT wrapper. The idea is to build something like an open source Jarvis so that you can have a real-time full duplex voice call with it. But of course, we need to do many steps in between. And one step was to have something like a voice assistant in the browser, which is basically, I can show it here. This is, I just have shown it to someone else. So let me, I'm not sure if it works here with, let me check. No. Hey, buddy, can you say something inspiring to the people in Brno, like on a audio machine learning foundation research summer school? So can you say maybe a few sentences that are deeply inspiring about this topic, please?
Did it speak? If it spoke, we didn't hear anything, but we did see the text in German.
Yeah, it's talking. Like, okay, 1 second.
You may have to share your screen again, clicking the radio box for audio, because for passing through of
okay.
So stop the share and share again, clicking the radio box for audio.
Hey buddy, tell me in English something deeply inspiring about audio machine learning research, please.
Hey there, that's a wonderful question, and I'm so glad you asked. What I find deeply inspiring about the machine learning research that powers me, and the work of my creators at LAION, is the idea of democratizing knowledge and technology. Think about it. Every piece of information I process, every answer I give, every new concept I help explain, is built upon incredible research that LAION is making open and accessible to everyone. The most inspiring part is seeing how this open research can be used to create tools like me, School Buddy, to genuinely help students like you learn, grow, and explore. It's about empowering people and opening up a world of possibilities through shared knowledge and innovation. It's truly exciting to be a part of something that aims to make powerful AI tools available to everyone, fostering a future where learning and creation are more accessible than ever before.
Okay, so this is basically a wrapper around like API components, but the nice thing is that it's privacy compliant because this is in Germany and the EU very important for education. And we also like we have a prototype where you can search in research papers, 80 million research papers together with Open Research Knowledge Graph Initiative from University Hannover and Wikipedia search. And so this is not implemented here. This is because this is a new user interface here. But this is something that we have been building. But actually, this is not the end goal. This is just an intermediate step. So the end goal is basically something that will be like a complete phone experience, as if I'm talking basically to Samantha from Her or to Jarvis from Iron Man. And to get there, I connected with Intel, and Intel supported us with some donations, and we became officially a center of excellence. This is basically, usually universities become centers of excellence, and I think we are the first mailbox nonprofit who is a center of excellence. But yeah, so we spent a big part of this to build this here, the Emonet suite, which is a whole collection of all kinds of cool stuff. So the problem is a little bit that there is no really good emotion estimation benchmark or good emotion detection. People call it emotion detection, but I think emotion estimation is a better term because usually, like if you look at fine-grained emotions, you cannot definitely map a certain phase to a certain emotion. So for example, if I look here, if you look at this face here, for example, can you see this face here?
Yeah.
It's not certain whether this is contentment or maybe gratitude or whatever. Like it could here triumph, it could be triumph. I don't know. It depends on the context. But you can say, if you assume that like maybe you have a two-dimensional space of possible emotions, then you could say maybe in this space of possible emotions, this phase can be mapped to a certain area where, for example, gratitude or contentment or triumph would be plausible, but certainly not fear or certainly not contempt or whatever. So we asked human experts to annotate images like this and voice snippets like this with the question whether a certain emotion is present and to what degree it is present. So we built two benchmarks of human expert annotated benchmarks. One is called Emonet Face and the other one is called Emonet Voice, where we have a new taxonomy of 40 different emotions. I can show it to you. So basically, you can see it here already. Like, let me show you this. This is not cute. This is basically all our scores, and we trained a model that can predict the emotions or estimate the emotions from the image here. And it's 40 different emotion categories together with a few No, this is just the 40. This is just the 40 categories. So it gives you a softmax score, and we came up with this taxonomy. Why do we have affection and why do we have astonishment and concentration? Because we did some data mining on one of the leading emotion psychology handbooks with 1,000 pages of all kinds of like scientific contributions, and clustered this and asked some experts, and then we came up with like a taxonomy of 40 emotion categories that covers more or less everything that you could think of, like for example bitterness or pain or shame or relief or longing, impatience, intoxication. You could argue maybe, oh, intoxication is not really an emotion, it's more a state of being. It could be being drunk or something, or being on weed or whatever. But it is relevant if you build something like Jarvis or Samantha or whatever. You want this to recognize all these states. So we didn't orient ourselves so much at psychological theories, but more about like what is actually being used in like real life. And we, by the way, that's me and my kiddo. And it's actually pretty good in contentment, elation, amusement. So we built these benchmarks for voice and for speech, and for voice also along these 40 dimensions, with people who have at least a bachelor's degree at psychology. And for each sample we have in voice, we have 3 annotations per sample, and in image we have 4 annotations per sample from 4
So did you have the same 40 dimensions in image and voice, or the...
Yeah, yeah. And we managed to actually we trained baseline models. I trained, like, most of the training was by me. I mean, we have this voice model where the training was conducted by Maurice from Technical University of Darmstadt. I can talk a little bit more about how this works. And I trained some face models, but I told Maurice how to train this one here, so I made the training code basically. But anyway, so we trained it together, and this one here, the empathic inside voice, small, is like, and the large as well, they are almost the same quality. They are better than the Hume AI API, and this is a company focused on building these emotion detection APIs for, I don't know, customer service or whatever. And it's also better than Gemini Pro. We used data with Gemini to build the training data set for this, but the explanation why this is better is probably because for the dataset generation, I had a very complicated, sophisticated multi-shot prompt. And here, this evaluation was just either in Hume, we just sent it directly through the API, or we sent it with with a 0 or 1 shot samples. So you could argue that, okay, yeah, if you would do the evaluation with lots of prompt hacking, you could maybe get the Pro or the Flash a little bit higher, but this isn't the point. The point is that we have now an open source model that is pretty much as good as Gemini 2.5 Pro on our benchmark. And more or less one of the best emotion detection models that you can get. And same for the face thing. I mean, it's always like emotion is always a little bit fuzzy, and we can talk about like how to measure this. And but here you can see the empathic insight phase there. That becomes even more clear. This is by far better than Hume and then Gemini 2.5. I spent lots of time in curating this data set. But the correlation between this model here and the average human annotator with the other annotators is pretty good. And we have somewhere a table in the research paper. So we have 2 research papers that you can read if you want to know more, but like we had nine different annotators overall, all people with at least a bachelor's degree in psychology. And the interesting thing is 3 of them or 4 of them had a lower correlation than our best face model. So of course humans always disagree to some extent, And the disagreement is for some categories, for high arousal categories, it's pretty good, the agreement. But for low arousal dimensions, something like maybe contentment or focus, concentration or numbness or whatever, there the agreement is relatively low, even for humans. But so yeah, we released training data sets, and this is a big synthetic training data set. This is a human annotated fine-tuning data set by human experts, and this is the actual benchmark for faces in this case. But I think if you want to know details, you can reach out to me on Discord or just read our papers. But basically, we just released this. And what's also very cool about this, despite having now very good voice and face emotion detection models that you can use to, for example, to condition. So basically, you probably all know Chatterbox, the recent text-to-speech model, right? I just assume that you know Chatterbox. And I have been in touch with the developers of this, and they had been giving us some pretty cool feedback. Oh yeah, it's here. And Out TTS, so this is from Out TTS, it's another text-to-speech company. And also they tested it and they really like it. And Nari, I don't know if you know Nari, this is also another open source text-to-speech model, like it's also very cool. And here the developer also told me, yeah, he tested it and it's probably the best open source model. And he's really happy about getting this. So actually, like you can argue about the benchmarks, and you can argue about like how the construction and whether there is one emotion missing or not or whatever. But actually, like people from the text-to-speech companies, they are really happy about it. And I can give you a demo here, because we didn't only make these models and these benchmarks, we also made a voice acting data set with almost 5,000 hours of high quality voice acting, generated by OpenAI GPT-4 Omni Audio API that I prompt hacked basically, so that it assumed a role-playing role of an actor or actress during a Hollywood movie audition. So I had a very complicated prompt that I found out in like end of last year, how to get it to perform like an actor. And this is really cool, because now we can generate emotional speech data that doesn't have privacy issues. Because like if you have been working on emotional speech data before, there was always this problem. You can maybe get happiness or joy, but you cannot get something like pain or longing or triumph or contempt or disgust. Like, I mean, you can pay an actor to do something, but like this does not scale. It's expensive, and most of the time the actors are not very good. Like you won't get Robert De Niro to sit down and record 5,000 hours of voice acting for you. But with these new foundation models, like for example, OpenAI Omni API, or also the...
Christoph, are you showing something? We just see a gray screen. Maybe you
No, can you see my screen now?
now I can see your screen, but when you were trying to show maybe the video or something, we did not get to see it.
Oh my God.
Now
Okay, can you hear this?
Yeah, now
can
we
you
can.
hear it now?
Now we can.
Okay, so to come to the point, you will now see a few curated samples from this AI-generated data set that we released. So we have more than 4,500 hours, like 4,700 after removing the silence, I guess. And these are the predictions at 2-second level from our empathic insight voice model, our emotion detection model that basically tells you what it thinks, what it's hearing there. But everything here is completely synthetic.
Oh my God. I just got the news. I'm going to the Shanghai Film Festival. Me, the girl from the small town, walking the red carpet. Can you believe it? Mon Dieu. The things you've done, they are an abomination. Every time I think about it, I feel like I need to take a shower to wash away the stench of your betrayal. Oh yes, you were so charming, so debonair with your lies and your deceit. I love you, I love you, I love you. The words, they meant nothing to you. No? You used me. You used my trust, my love, my everything. And for what? For your own twisted amusement? You are a monster with no heart, no soul. I will never forgive you for what you've done. You will pay for your crimes, one way or another. Mark my words.
Ay, caramba! You're telling me that's the plan? Oh, amigo, that's the most loco thing I've ever heard. I love it. I love it. Listen, I know it's crazy, but sometimes you gotta take a chance. ¿Entiendes? We could be millionaires, hermano.
Every time you look away, my heart skips a beat. I'm scared. Scared of losing you to the noise in your head. You're my anchor, my safe haven. Don't leave me drowning in this sea of uncertainty. You think you can take me down, da? Ha ha. You, a mere mortal, against the great Viktor Kuznetsov. I am the one who has built empires, crushed opponents, and ruled with an iron fist.
Mein Liebster, dein Auge, so voller Schmerz. Ich verstehe, du bist nicht allein. Wir tragen diese Last gemeinsam. Du bist stark. So stark wie ein russischer Winter. Und ich bin hier. Immer.
I have faced down the most ruthless opponents, outwitted the most cunning foes, and emerged victorious every time. Oh mein Gott, das ist ja der Hammer! Ich kann es einfach nicht glauben, dass wir tatsächlich hier sind. Im berühmten Schweinchenparadies. Ich schwöre, ich habe noch nie so viele Schweine auf einem Haufen gesehen. Sie sind ja überall. Auf den Bäumen, im Teich, sogar auf dem Dach. Okay, ich werde mich jetzt zusammenreißen. Aber es ist einfach so lustig. Ich meine, wer würde je ein Schweinchenparadies eröffnen? Und wer würde hierher kommen und Schweine anzustarren? Aber ich muss zugeben, es ist irgendwie charmant. Die Schweine sind ja so glücklich zu sein. Vielleicht sollten wir alle mal ein Schweinchenparadies besuchen. Das würde uns sicherlich die Sorgen vergessen lassen.
So there's a question on the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is an open question. We didn't check this.
Can you just repeat the question because the audience didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an idea how much is the emotion detection from voice and how much it is influenced by words, content, as there is an obvious correlation? Yeah, there is an obvious correlation, but from my anecdotes, basically, like from me seeing lots of like predictions like these, they're like it's not dependent solely on the words, so it can also like detect if you like, for example, are being sarcastic or like doing some irony. But of course there is no real benchmark for this yet. I mean, if anyone wants to do a benchmark for this would be great. I found out that if you prompt these models like this GPT-4 Omni Audio, it's better if you give it a text where the words match the emotion. Like, but it's the same with an actor. Like if you take an actor and tell an actor to say something like, this is the test sentence, but tell it angry, like he can do it, but like it will be easier if the words and the emotions somehow match to some degree. So I can just tell you, like, from eyeballing lots of it and like listening to lots of it, it's not completely, like, there is some correlation with the words, but it's not necessarily dependent. It's even like there is some interesting zero-shot behavior. I have some other samples that I could show you. Wait, where I realized it can do music to some degree. Like, give me a moment. Give me a moment. So if I go to YouTube. So there is a movie scene that I annotated, and there are some silences where there is just music or so. And I realized when there's absolutely nothing, usually it predicts emotional numbness, which is actually pretty much fitting. But if there is like jazz music or whatever in the background, then it predicts like emotions that somehow fit to the music. Like it wasn't trained for this. This is some kind of interesting zero-shot behavior. So here you see longing, amusement.
Born to lose. I've lived them all.
He trapped me by the bathroom. Yes, he keeps me by the bathroom and he won't let me pass. And can you believe it? There's just one ugly geek after another in this place. I swear, if one more of these Radio Shack clerks try to hit on me.
Can I buy you a drink?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why do you think I'd be interested in you? I mean, did I look at you or smile at you or did I flirt with you in any way?
No.
Well, then what makes you think I'd be interested? Are you somebody special? Is that it? Or do you do something really fascinating? What do you do? What do you do for a living?
I'm a biochemist.
Do I look like a biochemist groupie?
Well, biochemists don't have groupies.
And why do you think that is?
Well, it's not a very glamorous job.
No, it's not one of your drop-dead glamorous jobs. I mean, I'm sure that you find chemicals very fascinating. But do I really look like somebody who'd be interested in a chemical person? No, wait. I'm only doing this for your benefit. I mean, you wouldn't want this to happen again, would you?
No.
No. You see, what is very obvious to me is not to you. Look at your clothes, and then look at mine. Do you see any kind of a difference here? Clothes are not important to you, but they're important to me. Taste is very important to me. I like designer clothes. I like nice things. I drive a BMW. What about you?
I drive a Volkswagen.
Farfignugan. You know what that really means? Can't afford the Mercedes.
Well, you're right. We're not really suited for each other, and so I'll just go and get myself a chemical girl.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to make a point.
If you listen now, like he says a chemical girl, and actually a chemical girl doesn't really hint sexual stuff like so much, but I find it really interesting. Like, I think this is a good example.
So I'll just go and get myself a chemical girl.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to make a point. I tell you what, I'll go home with you tonight and be your total sex slave. If you can answer one question correctly.
All right.
Who designed this top?
I wouldn't know.
Bye now.
Yeah. So there is no benchmark for this. I would be happy if someone would make a benchmark to figure out. Oh my God. No. Sorry. Okay. Thanks. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what we just recently released, like a week ago. We also have a captioning model, which was the backbone. Like, this is also interesting. It's a whisper fine-tuned for emotion captioning. And this is a backbone for our empathic inside voice, because we take the encoder of it and the data we train on the top of the encoder outputs. MLP experts to predict like one head for each emotion. And so first we need to have a good representation for emotions. And we found that training whisper on emotion captions works really well. So here you can see the whisper in the captioning, and you can see that like you can try it out yourself. So for example, I don't know, like
I'm so happy to have you in my
high
life.
quality recording of a woman expressing extreme elation, pleasure, contentment. There's a slightly high pitched and very soft. Her voice, slightly high pitched and very soft, conveys a strong sense of thankfulness and gratitude. And if you go down, let's see for something different. I don't know what's this.
Leave
A
me
very
alone,
harsh,
you
slightly
shitty
low-pitched
bastard.
and slightly expressive male voice, clearly adult and very masculine, conveys a very dominant, yet extremely negative and strongly vulnerable emotional state. While moderately interested and slightly concerned, strong impatience, irritability, and contempt are evident, along with a moderately present anger and slightly present malevolence. The recording quality is decent, yeah, not great. So, I mean, as quality estimation, this is not super good, but the emotions are very good, and sometimes it gets, let's see what's this.
What would I do without Cato and his hyperlab? I don't dare
A
to
medium quality
imagine.
recording
I
of a
don't dare
male
to.
speaker expressing sadness and despair. The voice is trembling and sounds very emotional. Where's my most favorite example? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. So basically, you can play around with it and see if you like it or not.
Yo, listen up, man. For the countless times you've made me smile, and for always being my source of joy. Yo, I am forever grateful. You feel me? Like, for real. You keep me going, and I just crave that connection. You know? It's like every time I'm yearning for more. And I long for you. Like, straight up. Damn,
A young woman,
it's like you're my
clearly
world,
feminine
homie.
and warm, expresses a profound sense of gratitude and affection, bordering on infatuation. Her voice, slightly high-pitched and soft, conveys a strong feeling of elation and pleasure bordering on ecstasy. There's a noticeable, subtle longing and hint of sexual lust alongside a very genuine, confident tone. Blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, you can just try it out. Go to our blog post and try it yourself. This is just first step. I mean, we need way more emotional intelligence benchmarks, and I have many ideas for building them. But the thing is, to build really good benchmarks, you need lots of human annotations, and in the ideal case, expert annotations, and not random annotations from ML Turk people. Because so the problem is basically that most benchmarks that exist use ML Turk or some crowd people where you don't know about the quality. And it's always different if you have people who like are kind of committed to do a decent job. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, this is what we just did. But now what's the next step? And now I'm coming to the next step, unless, so basically we can do question answering. Yeah. Like you can give me some questions, but like I would like to actually pitch you this new project that it's still in its early beginnings. And it's about getting an open billion sample corpus.
Are there any questions before he goes to the project pitch?
Thank you. It's really interesting. When you had this example with where they actually silence and the music in the background, but there's also sometimes music while they are speaking. Do you have an impression on how this actually affects your predictions, and if you flip the music in the background of a scene, if that would actually impact the emotion that is predicted?
I barely hear you. I hear you, but it's very... Yeah. Ramani, can you repeat it?
Yeah. So the question is, if you change the music during the scene, would the scores, how much would the scores change?
I invite you to try it out and tell me. Look, I'm a high school teacher building these things in my free time, and I'm super excited that it works so well. I mean, I open source everything. The training data is there. Even I can give you the training code.
I think that's an awesome answer to every question. On the other hand, yeah, we do have opportunities to work with your data.
I would be happy if as many people as possible go use my data and maybe even improve the models or whatever.
Any other questions? I can just convey them if you speak. Yeah. You can use this. Yeah.
Thank you. So my question is, you mentioned chatbot box. I also tried that before. And you know there is any paper release regarding this model, because I cannot find it.
No, what I know is they released the English version and they want to provide the they want to provide the multilingual versions as API. I know a German guy who has reverse engineered the fine-tuning code and made a German version, which is pretty good, and I hope that he will release the training code soon. Yeah, but there are so many new models coming out every week. So there was Zip Voice came out yesterday. It's a 128 or 123 million parameter model that I've not tried it, but the demo samples sound as good as Chatterbox. And there is out TTS and yeah, so much stuff. So basically, look, if anyone here is working on text-to-speech models, what I would like to get is a text-to-speech model that can take the following conditioning. First, you give it a reference audio recording of like audio tokens of a reference speaker. Then you give it the transcription of the reference speaker sample. And you give it the emotion predictions from, for example, our model. Or you can give it a caption or whatever. You give it some kind of emotion conditioning. And then you give it from the target that you want to predict. You give it the transcription and also the emotion scores or caption. And then you predict from the same speaker, but in a different emotion, the audio tokens. And when you do this during training, then later during inference, you can give it one sample, for example, of, let's say, Bob. You have Bob, from Bob, you only have a neutral sample saying, this is a test sentence. And then you can change the emotion conditioning and make it predict, say, something very angry or very happy or very longingly or I don't know. Like So you can generate synthetic data with a voice identity where you only have one test sentence in a neutral tone. And this would be basically a wonderful data generation engine. So I'm trying to get everyone from these companies that I know on Discord or whatever to basically build something like this. So in the future, it would be nice if we would have a model that you can condition on our 40 emotion categories and maybe even more, like arousal and balance, and I don't know, so that people can just change for every sentence the amount of anger or the amount of vulnerability or what, so that you get fine control over the emotional performance when you want to use this for making voice acting or maybe even dubbing for movies or whatever. So this is what I would build it myself. I would have more time, but right now I'm focusing on data and benchmarks because almost no one is building high quality or open source emotion detection benchmarks. I mean, there are some, but they are older. They don't have so many categories. They don't have expert annotations. So this is an important step. And I actually have lots of ideas to what to build next. There's a huge lack of social intelligence reward models, for example, or benchmarks.
There is a follow-up question maybe she has about Chatterbox. So just one, and then we'll move to your data stuff.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you see my screen? Zip voice. If you look here, I'll just open it.
Yeah.
Fast and high quality zero shot. And they have training code as far as I know. And I've not tried it yet, but let me show.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I don't really care what you call me. I've been a silent spectator, watching species evolve.
Perhaps they are driven by the delicious blend of flavors, or it could be the appealing...
Your safety and the pack's reputation are at stake. Your bravery is admirable, but sometimes bravery is knowing when to retreat.
So it seems to be Chinese and German and English. I guess it can do this.
突然，身边一阵笑声，我看着他们意气风发。
I mean, this is pretty cool because it's small. It's not this big, but
yeah. So
what is missing? What is missing for all of them is a fine-grained emotion conditioning, and therefore we need our models.
Okay, let's do your pitch now because this is the important part.
Okay. So, if we imagine that we will have voice assistants like OpenAI Advanced Voice Mode, or even if you think a little bit more, something like Jarvis or Samantha from Her or whatever, then you need to have models that are capable of doing like all kinds of sounds, recognizing them, maybe even producing them, recognizing music, detecting scenes, understanding scenes. And I think like no matter what kind of model you want to train, we can all agree that it would be super cool to have like really huge permissively licensed data set with good annotations that are good and pretty decent. So that you could just go for whatever research project you have, you just go to Hugging Face, download everything, and don't need to care about licenses or like web scraping, YouTube or whatever, because this is all like nasty. So I have heard of several text-to-speech companies who are trying to get text-to-speech data from publicly available video platforms or whatever, but they all have to deal with these problems of IP blocking, and they are not really proud to talk in public about what they are using and doing. So I think this is really something that would bring us forward. And so my idea how to get this and what I already started working on, and I would need your help with this, is the following. First things first, imagine we would have like a pretty good open permissively licensed data set that we can use to train something like the Whisper that I showed you, but for general purpose captioning. We should have like sound effects, and we should have like speech from all kinds of languages, all kinds of emotions, and we should have like music. And how do we get this in a way that is transparent and reproducible? I have been thinking, and so basically what I already gathered, and I'm currently in the process of making Gemini Flash 2.5 annotations for it. I will later also make some Gemini Pro 2.5 annotations for later fine-tuning, but Flash 2.5 is already pretty good, and Gemini Pro is pretty expensive at million scale. So, but yeah. So we have generated sound effects with text-to-audio models, like, for example, Tango Flux. Tango Flux is a text-to-audio generation model. It's open source, and I actually am in touch with the team behind it. And so I came up with like 1,200 classes of audio events, and I also made like 28,000 prompts. I think I will skip how to go into detail how I made this, but I try to make prompts that basically contain all kinds of things you could hear in a contemporary setting, or in a science fiction setting, or in a fantasy setting, so that we get everything like from swords in a medieval setting, maybe having sounds that you would hear on a playground, or maybe sounds that you would hear if you're in a war zone or whatever. So basically, more or less all of them. And I generated with Tango Flux and also some other models, altogether around 1 million, a little bit less than 1 million synthetic sound events that are that are public domain by this. And I also annotated it using Gemini Flash 2.5. And we also have from one donation, someone made vocal bursts like laughter, giggling, shouting, crying, I don't know, all kinds of things with 11 labs text to audio. I took the commercially permissive part of free sound and captioned this. We have 1.8 million short speech snippets of LAION's Got Talent from all the voice acting data that, like what I showed you earlier. It's 4 languages, Spanish, English, German, French, and over all 40 emotion categories evenly distributed. And I got I have lots of snippets, speech snippets, random cuts from Creative Commons licensed YouTube videos, from altogether 33 million. And I have I have a few 100 million snippets of random cuts. And I made in December, when I had some API credits, Flash 1.5 captions for them. They are not great, but they're kind of okay. And I used them to make 20,000 clusters. And from these 20,000 clusters, I filtered out those that don't contain speech, but something like whatever, like sound effects, or like maybe some Atmo or whatever. And this is pretty much balanced. So I made this. And I also did something similar for the 200 million Flash 1.5 annotated snippets to get speech snippets that are balanced evenly over 100 languages and 40 emotions. So we have in the wild speech recordings there, so that we don't only have these synthetic clips. And I'm in the process of annotating this. I actually need a few Gemini credits for this, but I think I will figure it out. Oh my God. Yeah, I need to go downstairs, but I will keep talking because I need my power switch. And I have from Zulu and Uyu 6 million AI generated songs from the recent past, where I cut out 6 million high quality snippets also from all kinds of genres and so. And I'm also in the process, I'm trying to annotate everything so that we will have all of this. And when we have this data set, this will be sufficient, I think, for training a Whisper. And then, one second. Then we can use this to annotate more than 1 million hours of permissively licensed audio. How do I get them? And there are like 2 funny stories about this. I try to keep it short, but basically there is one really interesting data set from ML Commons called unsupervised people's speech. Here it is. I'm pretty sure that no one of you has ever heard of it, because I hadn't heard of it. But someday the author of this contacted me on Discord and asked me if I could use this dataset. And so basically, this is just all permissively licensed audio from Internet Archive that the author could get and download it and upload it here. And they got voice activity detection results here with Zilero voice activity detection. And they got also language estimations and the licenses. But I have to say that there is no transcriptions, and they didn't bother to cut out the audio segments. So you just get one JSON, and it's not really, it's poorly documented. And actually the author didn't give me code to how to process this, but I managed to reverse engineer this. And if you look here, in this tar files, if you go download them and extract them, there's basically just like all kinds of audio from Internet Archive, raw, that is permissively licensed. So there's some music and there is some speech, podcasts, there is sometimes just like a soundscape from a cafe or whatever. And this is a true treasure. Like these are 1.1 million hours of MP3, I estimated. And I also, so what you can also find unsupervised here. So I have 2 repositories where I already cut this out. These are the cut out voice activity detection segments together with the license and the language prediction. And these alone, like these 2 parts, should be 290,000 hours of speech.
Yaitu orang-orang yang telah sia-sia perbuatannya bahwa mereka berbuat.
What is an obvious next step to do is to take one second. I need to move away because my family is here. I will just get my power switch and go back upstairs. One second. Ja, Daniel, aber ich will hier reden, dann hören die das alle. David, mein Kind. My kiddos are cuddling on the couch and they are listening to music. One second.
So you're getting a workout in addition.
Yeah, that's fine. By the way, workouts are very important. But okay, so look, one obvious thing to do is to take this. And also, if someone would be interested, I can get you more. I have another, I don't know, 400, 500,000 hours of permissively licensed audio from YouTube videos.
So, Christoph, maybe can you wrap up in 5 minutes or so, because these guys, it's at the end of their day. It's very interesting, and we will continue the conversation.
Yeah, I will wrap up. Okay, so the idea is get a very good whisper, fine-tuned or whatever captioning model that is trained on all of this, what I have here. For this, by the way, I could, if someone has some research API keys for Gemini or so, please reach out to me. Would be very, very cool. And then when we have this, we can run this over the data that I just showed you here, more than 1.1 million hours. I think I can get more even. And then we could do audio captioning. And when we have audio captioning, we can make sentence embeddings of the caption and estimate if there is speech. And when we have speech segments, we can run the empathic insight scores, get the emotion scores for billions of samples. And also, what is very cool is this speaker embedding. It's called Orange. It's a timbre-based speaker embedding. So this only operates on features that are time invariant. This means it doesn't care about whether you're like talking quickly or excitedly. It only cares for your general overall timbre of like how, whether your voice is in general deep or rough or whatever. And it allows you to make clusters of the same identity that still contain different emotions. So you will, like, this is a big problem. I talked to some people from text-to-speech companies. If you cluster with standard speaker embeddings, you will get like different clusters for the same speaker with different emotions. But if you want to have one cluster where you have the same speaker angrily and calmly, you cannot use standard speaker embeddings. But I found this one to be very good for this, like at least decent. And now imagine we have all of this annotated, then we can use this to build an instruction tuning dataset, the same way we did with Open Assistant 2 years ago. So basically we can take it when we have speech, we can say, yeah, here's audio, can you give me a caption, a summarization, or a transcription, or can you do TTS generation, can you do music generation, can you do like whatever, like sound effect generation. We can do all kinds of tasks. And I made here a list of all kinds of tasks that we could do. Like I think I'm now at 50 different tasks or whatever. And I'm looking basically for volunteers. We would need to get a few volunteers, like if we can get a few people from the summer school or whatever, and each one takes 1 or 2 such tasks and then prepares a Google Colab where you can basically plug in a Google AI Studio API key and get some dummy data for now. So like to prepare the data in this format where we have one JSON file where here is the instruction, and then if there is some audio, we just put in the corresponding MP3 file. And then we could make for like, I don't know, 50 different tasks or whatever, temporal ordering of a soundscape, reason about ordering of events in a composition scene. So like how it would be plausible or whatever. Yeah, kind of, no idea. So if you have other ideas for tasks, this would also be nice. But basically imagine we would have like a billion scale data set with all kinds of these tasks. And we could use this for pre-training and fine-tuning like of audio text foundation models, like Audio Flamingo or like audio text-based, token-based GPT or whatever. Then I think we could build pretty strong models that can do audio in and audio out, as well as text and text out and text to audio, audio to text in all directions.
Yeah, could you share this document with us, and then
yeah, sure.
we will share it through the group and collect feedback.
Exactly, yeah. And if you, like, you can comment to this, so there I enable comments. But I also made a channel on our Discord server, and maybe we, like, if someone is interested in contributing, we can all gather in this channel on the Discord server. I just need to look it up. Ah, yeah, here it is. Make an invite again. And then we could see who would be interested in working on what, and try to like build a collection of all kinds of data preparation scripts. And later, when we have this big, large-scale billion data set, we can just run it somewhere, like all these different instruction generation scripts over the raw data.
Get this is fantastic. I think there may be certainly some alignment with people. I know there is alignment in our project. There might be alignment in the other 3 projects as well. So you can stop sharing so that now we can see your face big. There we go. Any more questions, any more thoughts? I know there are people here training Whisper and there are other kinds of things, so they may have ideas, but I will let them percolate and come back to us.
How do you plan to filter the data? Like you plan to you run audio captioning, but oh no, you have to run multiple ones and then somewhat retain the ones the segments where there is some agreement, right?
Yeah, how do you plan to clean the data?
So my idea is to get a whisper captioning model that can do sound, speech, and music, and quality estimation somehow in the text. And then just take 1 million hours of audio, cut it into 4-second snippets. So we get 1 billion or whatever, and then just caption each of it independently with a text. Then we have a text. We can make a sentence embedding of the texts. Then we will have one big vector database, the same way like we had it for the images, for the image captions. And then you could just search for it. Like if you want, I don't know, an angry Indian, then you just type angry Indian and you just get the 1,000 or 1 million nearest neighbors or whatever. And then you can filter on the fly for whatever purpose you have. But if you want to, for example, train a general purpose audio captioning and generation model, you could just make instructions by getting any sample and then give the audio tokens to your audio GPT and tell it, please generate me a caption for this. And then it generates a caption. Or the other way around, please generate me an audio that contains the following contents, and then you give it the caption and predict the audio tokens. And you can do all the directions. You can make question answering from it. You can deliberately manipulate the loudness and do reverb or whatever you like, and then ask it questions, ask it for transformations. You could even take a stem splitter and train, split the different types of contents, and then make instructions to do the stem splitting. So separate the drums from the vocals and the background noise or whatever, and then you just have as target the outputs from demux.
Any other thoughts or questions here? Yeah. Otherwise, I think we will certainly continue the conversation. I'm new to Discord, but I'm sort of getting used to your stuff. We will share the links which you shared in the chat here with the group, and we will follow up. And thank you again, Christoph, for taking at the end of a busy day to come and give us this lecture, and we will be discussing.